Well, good morning, everyone. Today I'm joined by the Honourable Rob Nicholson, the Shadow Minister for Procurement and Public Services, Shadow Minister Pierre-Paul Huss for Public Safety, and Leona Elaslav, the Shadow Minister for Global Security. And of course, we want to talk about the PBO report, the fiscal analysis of the interim F-18 aircraft, and we want to thank the Parliamentary Budget Officer for his work. So today, Canadians learned that Justin Trudeau's government are going to be spending $1.09 billion on buying a bunch of old used jets for the Royal Canadian Air Force. This is $200 million more than what the Liberals previously claimed the purchase of these old fighter jets would cost. It is shameful that the Liberals are not only purchasing used fighter jets for our men and women in uniform, but they tried to cover up the true cost for taxpayers. Now, we shouldn't be surprised here. The Liberals have a tradition of buying old, used equipment for the Canadian Armed Forces, all for political gain, and this must stop. The bottom line is that Justin Trudeau has failed to equip our troops and the Canadian Armed Forces. Now, the Royal Canadian Air Force requires new fighter jets to protect Canada and to support our allies. They don't need 40-year-old jets at over a cost of $60 million per plane. Trudeau's bad decisions to buy used jets further delays the delivery of new fighter jets for the Canadian Armed Forces, and is yet another example of Trudeau making Canadians pay for his mistakes. Now, Trudeau has really stuck us with these old planes because of his political interference when he said that he wouldn't buy the F-35, when he then said that we're going to go out and sole source the Super Hornets, but of course then he got into his political battle with Boeing over Bombardier, and we're stuck with these Aussie Hornets. Now, Andrew Scheer's Conservatives believe that the men and women in uniform should have the resources to meet the needs of the Canadian Armed Forces, and we immediately call on Justin Trudeau to launch an open, fair, and transparent competition to replace our aging CF-18 fighter fleet. Rob Nicholson will now make some comments.
Well, thank you very much. I'm extremely disappointed with this report today. Not only has the government apparently wasted even more money of taxpayers' dollars on 40-year-old jets, which were destined for the scrap heap in Australia, but now they're covering it up and further delaying the delivery of the much-needed new jets. Now, the Prime Minister is throwing taxpayers' money away and making Canadians pay for his mistakes. When I need to trade my 10-year-old car, I don't get another vehicle of the same age. It makes no sense. This is a bad decision and was made to distract from the Liberal government's inability to replace the existing fighter jets. The men and women of our Canadian Armed Forces deserve better, and so does the rest of Canada. The safety and security of our nation depends on it.
Oui, monsieur. Bonjour tout le monde. Donc aujourd'hui, les Canadiens ont appris que le gouvernement de Justin Trudeau dépensera plus d'1 milliard de dollars pour des avions de chasse usagés pour l'aviation royale canadienne. Ce montant est presque 200 millions de dollars de plus que le coût précédent évoqué par les libéraux pour l'achat de ces vieux avions de chasse. Il est honteux que les libéraux achètent non seulement des avions de chasse usagés pour nos hommes et nos femmes en uniforme, mais qu'ils tentent aussi de camoufler le véritable coût de cette transaction pour les contribuables. La tradition libérale d'acheter de vieux équipements usagés, comme les 4 sous-marins, pour les forces armées canadiennes à des fins politiques doit cesser. En d'autres termes, Justin Trudeau a échoué à équiper nos forces armées. L'aviation royale canadienne a besoin de nouveaux avions de chasse pour protéger le Canada et appuyer nos alliés. La mauvaise décision de Trudeau d'acheter des avions de chasse usagés retarde davantage la livraison des nouveaux avions de chasse pour les forces armées canadiennes, et c'est là un autre exemple où Trudeau fait payer les Canadiens pour ses erreurs. Les conservateurs d'Andrew Scheer croient que les hommes et les femmes en uniforme devraient avoir les ressources pour répondre aux besoins des forces armées canadiennes. Nous demandons immédiatement que Justin Trudeau déclenche un concours ouvert et transparent pour remplacer la flotte vieillissante d'avions de chasse CF-18 du Canada.
Thank you, Colonel. And Leona Elaslav, retired Air Force officer.
Well, thank you very much. There's not much I can add to that, except thank you very much to the PBO for doing this important report. It's clearly 20% more than what the government said it was going to cost, and it's $1 billion more than we should be spending, period. It's humiliating because it does not deliver the equipment that we need to defend our country, and it's embarrassing because it shows not only Canadians but our allies that this government simply doesn't take defense seriously. Thank you.
Monsieur Paulus, pourquoi dites-vous que le gouvernement tente de camoufler des informations, des chiffres?
Bien, c'est parce que c'est l'annonce qui a été faite. Premièrement, lorsqu'on est arrivé avec la décision d'acheter, souvenez-vous que la décision d'acheter 18 avions remonte lorsqu'on a créé un faux déficit de capacité. Le ministre de la Défense avait inventé ça pour supposément acheter 18 Super Hornet de Boeing. Il y a eu une chicane entre Bombardier, Boeing, donc là, le gouvernement devait continuer dans sa ligne, même si le commandant de l'aviation à l'époque disait qu'on n'avait pas besoin des avions. Donc là, on a dit, on va faire quoi? On achète 18 vieux jets australiens, puis ces vieux jets-là devaient coûter 800 millions. Là, on est rendu à au-dessus d'1 milliard de dollars. Donc, c'est ce que le directeur parlementaire nous démontre aujourd'hui, que finalement, encore une fois, ce qui est caché, c'est le coût réel des avions. Pourquoi le gouvernement n'a pas été en mesure de dire dès le début que ça coûterait plus d'1 milliard? Puis, surtout, l'utilité, c'est un gaspillage aussi d'1 milliard de dollars d'argent des contribuables.
Considérant qu'on devait trouver une solution rapide, c'était quand même une bonne solution?
Non, il n'y avait pas de solution rapide. C'était démontré. On a fait la démonstration pendant plusieurs mois que c'était une invention des libéraux de dire qu'il y avait un déficit de capacité. Le général Hood, qui était commandant d'aviation royale à l'époque, l'avait mentionné en comité. Par la suite, on a envoyé une question écrite au général Hood de confirmer que c'était faux. Il n'y avait pas de déficit de capacité. Nous, ce qu'on demandait à l'époque, on le demande encore, c'est d'ouvrir le processus immédiatement pour faire l'acquisition d'une nouvelle flotte.
How much of this problem do you think is the Liberal government versus D&D? Because the PBO has a history of showing that D&D has underestimated costs, going back to the F-35, Joint Sport Ships, others. So how much of this is D&D's fault?
Well, I think that it definitely lies back with the minister himself, because they accept these numbers and then push them out there and saying that they cost 20% less than what they actually cost.
The same thing when you're F-35 and JSS.
Well, you got to also, if you talk to the PBO, that was a novel aircraft, something that everybody was still trying to estimate. Where here you're dealing with a fleet with a 30-year track record. You know what the maintenance and life extension work costs. They know what it's going to cost to Canadianize these planes, and yet they still lowballed it. Like, the hard numbers were there. And so I just take it right back to the minister himself and to the PMO and Justin Trudeau, again, trying to do a cover-up without giving us all the information.
And let's not confuse the facts. This is far too much money, period. We shouldn't be buying used jets in the first place. The Australians are smart. They're not going to get rid of an aircraft fleet that still has capability. So the costs are actually irrelevant, because this is not money that this government should be spending, and that is the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Defence.
Exactly.
But whose fault was it when Michael Ferguson did the report in 5 or 6 years ago, whenever it was, when you totally screwed up the cost by $10 billion?
Well, you've got to remember, and again, if you actually go back and read the AG's report that they did on the cost of the F-35 versus the AG's report that came out this fall on the replacement with the Aussie fighter jets, this fall's report was actually way more damning on the government for mishandling the fighter file and buying a fleet of aircraft that, one, is a waste of money, but it's also a waste of time and resources for the Royal Canadian Air Force, who doesn't have the staff and personnel or pilots to keep these planes in the air.
So the $10 billion from before, that miscalculation is, this $200 million is worse than the $10 billion. So if you actually look at that calculation,
it was comparing apples to oranges. If you're going to do a life extension and do the life cycle costing, we had originally calculated it at 25 years. The AG at the time went to 42 years, and that's how you got the difference in numbers. But actually, the capital acquisition, the cost of operation, it was just about the extension of time. Of course, made a lot of political hay out of it, but never in the report did the AG say not to buy the F-35. In this report, even though it's not a recommendation, the AG actually says that it's in their opinion that buying these used Australian fighter jets was not wise use of Canadian tax dollars.
Should we just be buying the F-35? Because you're saying we shouldn't be buying these old jets. We should be launching a competition right away. They're going to launch a competition in May. So should we just go ahead and...
But they've been dragging it on for so long, and we don't know what the terms of reference are going to be on that competition. Is it going to be fair? Is it going to be transparent? Are all companies going to be treated equally? And that really becomes a matter of who is even going to compete. Because if those aren't laid out clearly, We don't know if Lockheed Martin or Boeing or Eurofighter are going to participate in the competition, and we may not get the jet that Canada actually needs.
Should we just buy the F-35 now?
Look at that. We're saying that we need to have a fair and open, transparent competition now and make that selection immediately. This can all be moved up the track quite quickly so that we don't even have to be wasting time, trying to outfit 40-year-old jets.
Mr. Nicholson, can you answer about the testimony yesterday from Jody Wilson-Raybould? The government is saying the ethics commissioner is going to deal with this. Is this really the purview of the ethics commissioner
Well,
to sort out
I
who's...
suppose they would hope that this report won't come down for about 8 or 10 months on that, but this is unprecedented, in my opinion. This interference with the prosecutorial discretion of the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Attorney General is something that I think disgusts Canadians. I mean, she talked about the relentless pressure, how she was hounded, veiled threats from the Prime Minister's office. This is completely un-Canadian here. I don't know of any other example of that we could point to in Canadian history where somebody like the Attorney General is hounded and bullied on this and then eventually fired. So we need an investigation of this right now, and I'm hoping that this will proceed because as it should.
Do you think we should separate the Minister of Justice from the Attorney General?
It's hard to say. I mean, Sir John A. Macdonald put the two of them together, and I have to say when I was a justice minister at a couple of Commonwealth meetings here, that a number of Commonwealth countries have them separated here. And I remember telling them, I said, I don't think it's necessary because those in the government, in my government, respect the differences between the justice minister and the attorney general. So, but now maybe we should have another look at it.
But do you think that it should be, because you said previously you didn't think it should be split. Have you
I
changed
think-
your mind, or you're still kind
Well-
of of the mind that it can be the same position?
I was of the opinion when I was there for 6.5 years that it was a good fit, that there was a complete separation between the two, whether it was extradition or interactions with the Director of Public Prosecutions, and it was completely separate with respect to the Minister of Justice here. But maybe we should have a look at it when you see this kind of abuse taking place.
You were
prosecutor
Mr.
wasn't-
Nicholson, you were Minister of Justice.
Yes.
Has it never, ever happened to you that an issue would be discussed with colleagues of the government?
You know something? What would never happen is the kind of bullying, the kind of intimidation, the veiled threats. This would never have happened under my government, and it certainly did not happen.
But did you have discussions with cabinet colleagues or people in the Prime Minister's office on some occasions about policy
You can
topics? Is that part of
discuss
the-
any policy you want, but again, when it comes to prosecutorial discretion by the public prosecutor, this was never on the agenda.
En fait, peut-être une question au sujet du débat de ce soir. Vous attentes pour ça?
Sur le,
Le débat d'urgence?
Ben, écoutez, on s'en a demandé un débat d'urgence parce qu'on voit que la situation est critique. On doit faire la lumière et plusieurs députés ont énormément de questions aussi, plusieurs discours à faire sur la situation, parce que notre chef, Andrew Scheer, a demandé clairement la démission de M. Trudeau parce qu'on considère qu'il n'a plus l'autorité morale de diriger le Canada. Et c'est pour ça qu'un débat d'urgence s'impose.
Quand est-ce que vous l'avez demandé? Pardon, excusez, j'ai raté ce bout-là.
La demande de démission?
Non,
Ça s'est fait ce matin. Ce matin, c'était déposé à 10 heures
Pour
par...
en avoir un ce soir?
Exact.
OK.
Puis ça va avoir
Quand
lieu.
est-ce que vous... OK, il va en avoir.
Oui,
OK. À
absolument.
quelle heure? OK.
Puis, pour revenir aux avions de chasse, peut-être une dernière question concernant le contrat ouvert que vous voulez avoir. C'est pour acheter quel type d'avion que vous aimeriez?
Le contrat, c'est un contrat, pas un contrat, mais une compétition ouverte et transparente. Ça veut dire que les compagnies qui vont vouloir soumissionner pour que le Canada achète leur jet vont pouvoir soumissionner. Donc, il y a Boeing, il y a Lockheed Martin, il y a différentes compagnies comme ça.
Quel type d'avion?
Donc, écoutez, c'est pas à nous de décider, c'est pour ça que ça prend une compétition. Le F-35 est un avion qui est déjà en développement, mais il y a aussi le Super Hornet, il y a différents types d'avions qui sont Eurofighter, peu importe. Mais c'est pas nous qui décidons.
Ms. Wilson-Raybould said it's not illegal, but it was probably inappropriate. Doesn't this give the Liberals the escape hatch they're looking for?
Well, let's have this matter investigated. We'll find out exactly. I mean, her testimony was very compelling and, quite frankly, very shocking, and so it can and should be investigated.
When you were the Justice Minister, did you consider bringing in the deferred prosecution agreements like the Liberals did recently? Was that ever
I mean,
on the
we
table
set
for you?
up the public prosecution system here, but and we had a very busy agenda, you may remember, but deferred prosecutions wasn't one of them. I think it's a fairly new concept, quite frankly, and I believe Britain and the United States have moved in this direction, and so, but not at the time, we didn't discuss it. So,
Nicholson, okay,
thank you very much,
Okay.
appreciate it.